Both you and your child are not lovely. Get out of this house right now.
What? This house is. I stopped mid-sentence. Okay. I started packing my things. My husband was flustered as he watched us.
Wait. You don't have to leave.
But your dear mother told me to leave. I have to obey, right?
Jimmy, don't bother with that woman. Come over here and have some cake.
My mother-in-law had a triumphant look on her face. I decided to knock her down a few pegs and went back to my parents' house with my daughter. My name is Megan, a 34-year-old office worker. I got married to a man named Jimmy 2 years ago. Jimmy and I met through a popular dating app, and after a year of dating, we became a married couple. Although Jimmy was unreliable sometimes, he was a very kind and thoughtful man. When we were dating, he would look up restaurants I wanted to try and plan our dates in advance. Even after we got married, when I was tired, he washed the dishes for me or brought home my favorite dessert. About a year into our marriage, we welcomed a beautiful daughter into our lives. My husband was actively involved in parenting, and I felt fortunate to have met such a wonderful husband. However, as expected, he's not perfect in every way. My husband does have some faults. Among them, the most significant fault is that he's a mama's boy. The first time I suspected that my husband might be a mama's boy was when it came to the taste of food. How is it? Delicious?
It's alright, but I think my mom's was a bit richer.
Wait, your mother? I was puzzled why suddenly his mother's name came up. But upon further conversation, it turned out he considered his mother's cooking to be the best and wanted me to replicate that taste as much as possible. Since my mother-in-law's cooking seems to be generally rich in flavor, I've been trying to make dishes a bit richer as per my husband's request. Even when we go on trips, he always says, "What souvenir should we get for Mom?" He has a father too, so it's normal to think about what to get for parents, but my husband always starts with "for Mom." I suppose if I look at it from the perspective of valuing one's mother, it's a good thing. And I think there are quite a few men who could be considered mama's boys. However, I would later come to realize that my husband's attachment to his mother went beyond what I had expected.
I'm thinking of living with my mom.
Wait, why all of a sudden?
Looks like my mom and dad are getting a divorce.
What? Is that true?
Apparently, it's because of my dad's affair.
I can't believe it. My father-in-law was a kind person, but you can't judge people by appearances.
It's really cruel to leave my mom alone, and besides, if we live together, she can help take care of our daughter.
That does make sense. I'm currently on maternity leave, but with my mother-in-law's support, I might be able to return to work sooner. But I felt a bit uneasy about it. Does my mother-in-law really like me? Will we get along living together? I shared my honest feelings with my husband. Then my husband said,
"Don't worry, it'll be fine. My mom has been praising you."
I was surprised that my mother-in-law had been praising me. That fact made me happy, and I started thinking that we might get along well even living together. However, I soon realized that my thinking was too optimistic. My mother-in-law moved into the apartment where we were living, but she suddenly started to be rude to me.
It kinda annoys me that you're living in such a nice apartment.
Huh?
Don't you ever forget that it's thanks to my son that you have your current lifestyle.
I didn't understand why she was shouting at me. Well, my husband does put effort into his work and household chores, so I guess I'm grateful in a way. Her argument isn't entirely wrong, so I just quietly replied. Yes. I'll keep that in mind.
Humph. It's good to be obedient.
After that, my mother-in-law would yell at me whenever there was something she didn't like.
You're supposed to have ketchup with fried eggs. Why is there mayonnaise here? The bath water is too lukewarm. Set it hotter. And why isn't there any ice cream after the bath? Make sure it's stocked.
Seriously, do it all yourself. And the reasons for getting angry are so ridiculous. Despite being at home all day, my mother-in-law hardly does any housework. I had hoped she would be more cooperative in taking care of our 1-year-old daughter, but she only helps when she feels like it and stops as soon as she gets bored. And what I came to realize for the first time after living together was that my mother-in-law's excessive doting on her son was worse than my husband's mama's boy tendencies.
Jimmy, how was work today?
It was really tough. My boss was a bit tense because it was busy, so I had to be careful.
Oh my. That's unacceptable. Maybe I should protest against workplace harassment.
Huh? Over something like that?
It's okay, Mom. We have to have a big heart and forgive.
My goodness. What a kind-hearted boy you are. You're like an angel.
Calling a man in his 30s an angel.
Ha, thanks Mom. But if I can't forgive anymore, I'll need your backup, okay?
Of course.
I feel sorry for his boss. Being protested against for harassment just based on my husband's mood swings. I quickly regretted moving in with my mother-in-law. Being stuck at home with someone like her was driving me crazy. That's why I decided to put my daughter into daycare and return to work. My mother-in-law got angry, saying,
Why do you have to work too?
But when I said, you can spend the day alone at home, you know? She seemed to find some advantages in it.
Well, don't neglect the housework.
She didn't get any angrier. Phew, what a hassle she is. You never know what will set her off. After I started working and had less contact with my mother-in-law, my stress level decreased a bit. But around a year after we started living together, another problem arose. It happened to be our daughter's 2nd birthday that day. We prepared cake, presents, and everything to celebrate, and we had a family birthday party for our daughter. However, our daughter had recently entered the terrible twos phase. It was perhaps the peak of it on her birthday.
Look. It's a present. Open it up.
My mother-in-law handed the gift to my daughter.
No.
But my daughter knocked it away. My mother-in-law was surprised, but she managed to hold herself back at that moment. Then, thinking that maybe the cake would work if the present didn't, my mother-in-law scooped up a bite of cake with a fork and tried to feed it to my daughter.
Here you go. It's your favorite chocolate cake.
No, I don't want it.
But my daughter pushed it away with her hand once again. Then, a bit of cream flipped and landed on my mother-in-law's forehead. That triggered her, who has a short temper, and she exploded in anger at my 2-year-old daughter.
Will you cut it out? You're getting too cocky just because I'm being nice.
My daughter burst into tears at the sudden outburst. What are you doing? She's scared. I hurriedly pulled my daughter close to protect her.
Shut up. She's such an unlovable grandchild.
Then you're an immature grandmother.
What did you say?
Normally, Adults don't use such words on a 2-year-old.
Shut up. You're such an insolent daughter-in-law. Can't you control that mouth of yours?
As we argued, my husband jumped in.
Cut it out. Don't insult Mom.
What? Are you taking your mother's side in this situation? Normally, you should take your own daughter's side, shouldn't you?
You can make as many children as you want. But there's only one mom in this world.
That's despicable. You're saying it as if it's some kind of profound quote, but it's garbage.
Hey. Stop talking bad about Jimmy. You and your child are not lovable. Get out of this house right now.
What? This house is. I stopped mid-sentence. Okay. I started packing my things. My husband was flustered as he watched us.
Wait. You don't have to leave.
But your dear mother told me to leave. I have to obey, right?
Jimmy, don't bother with that woman. Come over here and have some cake.
My mother-in-law had a triumphant look on her face. I decided to knock her down a few pegs and went back to my parents' house with my daughter. After that, my husband called me many times, but I ignored them. I proceeded with various preparations and sent the divorce papers to him. It seemed my husband also filled them out and sent them back to me. I promptly submitted them to the city hall. Then, I called my ex-husband.
Hello.
I submitted the divorce papers, so thanks for filling them out.
Ah, so it's okay, it's fine for me and Mom to keep living in this house, right? Since you are the one who decided to leave here with our daughter.
Fine by me, as long as you pay the rent properly.
Ha, well, of course I will. This apartment is rented under your name, so I was a bit worried when you moved out the other day. But if I think about it calmly, all I need to do is change the name on the lease, right? Thanks for providing a comfortable living space for me and Mom.
That's good to hear.
By the way, how much is the rent here?
All right then. How about $1,500 for the rent?
Ha! What are you talking about? Stop joking and tell me the actual rent price.
I'm not kidding. Because I'm the landlord.
Ha!
We talked about this when we got married, didn't we? I made quite a bit of money from stocks in the past, and I used that to buy that apartment. You just assumed it was a rental property. My ex-husband seemed to be completely stunned and fell silent. If $1,500 for the rent is too much for you, I'll put it up for sale properly. That apartment will sell quickly.
Wait. If you do that, where will my mom and I live?
I don't know. Just leave quickly. Otherwise, I'll report it to the management company. With that, I hung up the phone. Then I blocked my ex-husband's number. Afterwards, I demanded child support payments from my ex-husband through a lawyer. According to the lawyer, my ex-husband lost so much weight. Well, it must be mentally and financially tough to support both my ex-mother-in-law and pay child support. By the way, apparently my ex-mother-in-law also attended the discussions, and both my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law were just blaming each other, saying, "It's your fault," non-stop. It's surprising how quickly the relationship between such a closely knit parent and child can fall apart when money and a lavish lifestyle are lost. Or rather, perhaps they were just only superficially connected. Well, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. On the other hand, the apartment sold for unexpectedly high, So I've saved all of it for my daughter's upbringing. Right now, I'm living with my parents, relying on them, and working hard. I want to be in a relationship again at some point, but right now, my top priority is earning as much as I can for my precious daughter. Oh, but in the future, I'll make sure not to become too overbearing or excessively indulgent with my daughter, taking my ex-mother-in-law as a cautionary example.